There is an economic brigadoon, a made-in-Canada financial Shangri-La. It's a place where unemployment is actually falling, jobs are plentiful, and to quote an old campaign slogan from a long, long time ago, it's a place where the land is strong. And that place is, yes, you've guessed it, Saskatchewan. And the Premier of Saskatchewan is down in Washington. He joins me now. Premier Wall, thanks very much for joining us on this Friday.
Tom, thanks for having me on the show.
The Americans are beginning to notice you. I mean, there have been articles written about Saskatchewan in the last couple of days, articles that are almost filled with astonishment, saying there is this place in North America or in this world that's actually having a pretty good time. In January, your unemployment numbers actually went down when everybody else soared. And of course, today, when we take a look at the American numbers, it's even more astonishing. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, Tom, we're not immune to what's going on around the world, and we've actually seen an impact. And yes, all the forecasts are still that Saskatchewan will grow, in fact, lead the country in growth. But the level of the growth has certainly been reduced because of the worldwide recession. Even this day at home, I know there were some layoffs, a small amount of layoffs announced for a steel mill, a steel manufacturer in our capital, in Regina. So we're not immune, but you're right. We have, on a net basis, there are jobs being created. We have jobs unfilled. We still do have some economic momentum. And that's part of the reason, actually, why we're here in Washington. We want to make sure we're telling our story to keep attracting people and investment to Saskatchewan. There's also some very specific and exciting innovation projects that we're working on, which, of course, are important for the economy. And one of those is carbon capture.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that because now being a bit of a veteran of these trips down to Washington yourself, you know that you don't go down to Washington without an ask. So let me ask you what your ask was down in Washington this time.
Well, we were trying to build support for our friends in Montana and for a carbon capture project between Saskatchewan and Montana. We have a coal-fired facility, a generation facility in our province. We'd like to capture the CO2 from that project and make available to companies and governments the opportunity to basically test their technology to capture CO2, and it will be sequestered in Montana. So we're hoping for some support from our federal government. The province is prepared to put some money in. Montana needs to get their resources from their federal government. There was money in the stimulus, in the Obama stimulus package for this sort of thing. So we were meeting with people on the Hill, encouraging that support, international cooperation on important technology around CO2. And we got a good hearing. You know, people like Senator Joe Lieberman were very interested to find out that we're already leading in terms of existing carbon capture technology happening in Weyburn. It was mentioned by President Obama and the Prime Minister during his visit there. And we met with a number of Senate leaders and House Republicans and Democrats as well. And it was warmly received. It's certainly in the wheelhouse of where people are thinking here in this city in terms of environmental and energy policy. And so we're hopeful, and we also were able to provide some general information and awareness, and that too raised some eyebrows. We have a powerful story to tell about our resource wealth and an innovation agenda, and we take every chance we can to tell it.
Well, you better be careful. You might find that you're swamped with applications for immigration from the United States to come up to Saskatchewan. Well, for that matter, from Ontario and Alberta as well, if you keep on going the way you are. This project that you're talking about, if the U.S. kicked money into this project, could it become a world leader in terms of carbon capture and storage? Because that is a fairly unproved technology right now, isn't it?
Well, the answer is yes. And to your last point, there's a very special and important message that I have been delivering here and anywhere else. 8 years ago, a carbon capture project was begun. The provincial government of the day, I give them full credit, our federal government, and the U.S. Department of Energy and companies like Encana and Shell and then Apache Oil were all part of it, where we're sequestering CO2 from Beulah, North Dakota. It's first used to enhance oil recovery and reanimate a previously, thought to be mature oil field, and then the CO2 is stored. And here's the good news. It works. The storage of the CO2 is stable. We can report that back to Americans and others that are looking at carbon capture as part of the solution around environment and energy. We have invited them to come and have a look. Some congressmen have taken us up on that. To come to Weyburn is where it's located. So it's very good news. We have a track record in it. We want to build on that leadership, and it's good for our economy if we do. Frankly, it's good if we're cooperating internationally on this file as well, and that was the point of the mission. That was a powerful message we could share with senators and representatives here.
In the short time we've got left, Premier Wall, let me ask you this. The debate, as you know, in Ottawa is all about our stimulus money. The budget is about to pass. There's debate over the $3 billion. From a provincial point of view, how soon do you need this money?
Well, we've always said in Saskatchewan, I've said that the money needs to flow. And I like what I've seen from the federal government beginning last week with some of these, the changes, the estimates, procedural changes that have been made so the money can flow. If it's a stimulus, the money's got to flow to the provinces. We're ready. We'll put our money in. Municipalities have the projects. And I think it's important that this get out as soon as possible, including in areas that aren't perhaps as severely hit by the recession as others, because those are the successful parts of the economy. We actually want to keep that momentum. It's a help, frankly, to the entire economy.
Well, it's an amazing story for Saskatchewan, for Saskatchewan to be able to say quite proudly that they are leading the pack in this country, and probably will for some time, is really quite remarkable. So congratulations to you and everybody in Saskatchewan. I think maybe we'll think of moving the show there.
Well, you'd always be welcome to come, Tom. We'd love to have you. You can host the show from Saskatoon, Regina, or Swift Current. Another great city.
Swift Current, that's where we want to go.
Yeah.
Premier Wall,
That's right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Safe travels home.